Hello everybody, I hope you all have been well. I am finally settled in, moved into a new place, and ready to start making videos again. And I was planning to return to my YouTube channel by making a video about the insane playoff run that we just saw from one Kawhi Leonard, which was capped off with a championship, derailing yet another attempt at a three-peat from the other team, and a Finals MVP award. But in true NBA fashion, the off-the-court stuff, the off-season stuff, kinda supersedes the on-the-court stuff. As I was making my Kawhi Leonard video, news dropped that the Lakers finally got Anthony Davis from the New Orleans Pelicans. And dude, I still can't believe the return that they got for the Davis trade. So with that said, instead of doing what everybody has been doing all year, which is talking about the Lakers, Davis and LeBron, which is obviously an amazing duo that goes without saying, the dumpster fire of a front office, I would rather talk about the team that had their fortunes changed over the last few months. It's time for you to start buying some Pelican stock. I've already been doing it.
New Orleans.
Congratulations to New Orleans for winning the first pick in the 2019 NBA lottery.
So when you look back through NBA history, it's kind of amazing how a broad stroke of luck, or something that seemed so benign and harmless at the time, or just plain outside forces, can alter the trajectory of a single organization in an instant. The most recent example I can think of off the top of my head is the 2016 salary cap spike, which enabled the Warriors to sign Kevin Durant, and it altered the NBA landscape for the next 3 years. Going back further, you could talk about something harmless that was done at the time, like the Brooklyn Nets-Boston Celtics trade, which at the time, people, including myself, thought it was a good trade for the Nets. But as the trade started to unravel as the years went along, it actually turned out to be a one-sided trade and one of the worst trades of the decade. And all the draft picks the Celtics got in that deal not only gave them a load of assets, but has still set up their franchise for success for the next 5 to 10 years, despite the stuff we've seen from Kyrie Irving this season. For the Pelicans, they fall in 2 of these aforementioned categories, and all 3 potentially, which I will get into later. I would be remiss if I didn't start with where the Pelicans were months ago. As we all know, back in January, Davis requested a trade through his agent Rich Paul, and then Rich Paul made it known that Davis wanted to be traded to the Lakers, and it just started a spiral of just unmitigated disasters for both teams, fractured chemistry, Alvin Gentry saying that he hasn't seen a situation like this in his 30-plus years of working in the NBA, you know, all that good stuff. But then the Pelicans' fortunes started to change a little bit. They signaled that they were ready to be ran like a competent and adult organization in sports. They hired David Griffin to be the president of basketball operations. Griffin had success in Cleveland trying to build a roster around LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Love, and brought the Cavaliers their first championship in franchise history. I don't know how good of an executive David Griffin actually is, considering that having LeBron on your team, you're pretty much in win-now mode and you have to make moves even though it will cripple you in the future. But Griffin did his job, and just from listening to him talk about basketball, talking about how front offices work, it seems like he has a grasp of how the modern NBA works, how modern front offices work, how collaboration works, which is a huge upgrade from general manager Dell Demps, who was let go. I think the gap between a really bad executive versus a competent executive is as big of a gap between a good general manager and a great general manager. But then the broad stroke of luck came in during lottery night. The Pelicans entered the draft lottery with a 26% chance at a top 4 pick. They had a 6% chance of landing the top pick in the draft, thus winning the Zion Williamson sweepstakes. That happened. They are going to take Zion Williamson. They better, or I'm just going to delete this video entirely and eat my shoe. That pick gave the Pelicans ultimate flexibility, and having an executive like David Griffin heading your basketball franchise, sussing out through all the options that were presented in front of them with the broad stroke of luck of landing a top pick in the draft, the Pelicans were in good hands. He could have convinced Anthony Davis to stay by keeping him heading into the season, and you run a team with Drew Holiday, Anthony Davis, and Zion Williamson, or you can trade him now where his value is at its highest. And once the Celtics and Lakers started getting in a bidding war over Davis, the Lakers eventually won out. As Mark Stein of the New York Times reported, the Celtics were unwilling to involve Jason Tatum in the trade. That made the decision to take the Lakers offer much easier. When you look at the recent trades involving franchise players who were traded with 1 year left on their deal, comparing the returns to the return that David Griffin got for Anthony Davis, it's laughable. So the Lakers ended up sending Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, this year's number 4 pick in the draft, which the Lakers had a 2% chance of getting, a top 8 protected pick in 2021, but it becomes unprotected in 2022, an unprotected pick swap in 2023, an unprotected first-round pick in 2024, and an unprotected pick swap again in 2025. Keep in mind, the picks that the Pelicans would get in 2023, 24, and 25 are all after when LeBron James's contract is up, when he is an unrestricted free agent at 38 years old. Once the Pelicans take Zion with the first pick, there's all types of things they can do with the 4th pick in the draft. They can draft a 3-and-D wing like DeAndre Hunter out of Virginia, or they can listen to trade offers from multiple teams who want Darius Garland or Jared Culver, potentially making the return off of a Davis trade even better than before. But now you look at the Pelicans roster, it is just flush with young talent. I'm still a big Lonzo believer. I think he is a great defensive point guard, has the potential to make some all-NBA defensive teams later on in his career. Admittedly, the shot needs to get better, and I am losing faith that that's going to get any better. I also like Brandon Ingram. I just thought he was miscast the whole time in LA. He is an underrated playmaker. He's really good at attacking the rim. Just run him in pick and rolls. Josh Hart is a 3-and-D wing. Not so much laterally, but he is somebody you can play at small ball 4, and he can shoot 39+% from 3. And not only that, the Pelicans freed up cap space, but it gets kind of tricky with the rules and when the deal can be made official. But all in all, the Pelicans have a bright future. They are automatically in my League Pass rankings. I can't wait to see Drew Holiday and Lonzo Ball defend opposing guards and wreaking havoc on the perimeter. Yes, admittedly, the shooting will be a little bit cramped with Zion and Brandon Ingram in the starting lineup, presumably, but things are just looking up for the New Orleans Pelicans. David Griffin is poaching members of front offices from competent franchises like the Brooklyn Nets, who have become one of the more well-run organizations recently. Griffin used his Phoenix Suns connections to poach staff from their fabled medical team to replace a football training staff, which, as a tip, I wouldn't have a football medical training staff watching basketball players, but that's just me. And now they're just flush with young talent. Whether they draft Zion and keep the number 4 pick, or draft Zion and trade the number 4 pick for more players, not only are the Pelicans set up for the present, the immediate future, they could be set up for the late 2020s when those pick swaps start to come into effect. And that's where the benign part of this deal that seems harmless right now and seems like a fair deal now could impact the Pelicans down the line. Yeah, the Lakers have Anthony Davis in their prime and LeBron James is still 35 years old. But remember, 2023, 2024, 2025, that's a long ways away from now. And a lot of stuff could happen. Those pick swaps and that unprotected 2024 first-round pick, those could be a lot more valuable than what they are now. And those picks could help supplement what could be a team that is already hitting their stride after years of development, kind of like the Boston Celtics from the draft picks they got in the Brooklyn Nets deal. Either way, a couple of broad strokes of luck, outside forces, and one competent hire from an ownership group that has been much maligned has changed the trajectory of the franchise. The New Orleans Pelicans could be a lot of fun next year. A good coach, I still think he's a good coach, in Alvin Gentry, and the young players that the Pelicans have right now, I could definitely see them having maybe not quite what the Sacramento Kings were able to do this past season, but maybe somewhere in the ballpark.
Bye.